From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
All right, welcome into Campo's Corner once again here on The Horse's Mouth. Of course, at my bar, at Tommy Max, where everybody has a shot to sit at the bar and tell their story. Brought to you by our good friends at Dasher and Hot Spring Spas of Jacksonville. Our guest this time around, of course, Dave Campo is here, and Bob Wiltfong is here. He is a corporate communications specialist. Let's say hello to the gentleman. Bob, how are you, my friend?
Tom,
good to see you.
Good
Welcome
to see
the
you.
show.
Hey, Tom.
How are you, Coach? Once again, always a pleasure.
This has already made my day. I'm sitting by Coach Campo.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know what it does for you, but I appreciate it anyway.
Street cred.
Yeah.
Corporate communications specialist. How'd you get into that, Bob?
My original career was TV news. I was a TV news reporter and anchor.
Cool.
And I was, Coach and I were visiting before we got on camera here, and he coached at University of Kansas for a little bit, and I went to University of Kansas.
Okay.
So we both shared a rock chalk moment at points.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that skill set lends itself towards the corporate world of being kind of an in-house journalist, of creating newsletters, blogs, byline articles for the CEO, that type of stuff.
So like exposure type things, right? For that type of thing, and
build the brand and also communicate internally.
And it's you got to be consistent with that message, don't you? I mean, it's not like here it is once and then we forget about it. It's like, hey, don't forget, this is how we're
and also the marketing element, like the CMO and the marketing team wants to make sure you stay on message.
Right.
So you're trying to tell a story that's as conversational, as digestible as possible, but also, build in the little catchphrases that they value.
What do you do with a C-level executive that doesn't communicate very well, Bob?
That's a good question, Tom.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Good. Finally, I got one. You know what I mean? Like, how do you try to fix that?
It's common because most of the people get up to C-level, they've done it their way. Right? And so it's unusual for somebody to say to them at that point in their career, I think there might be a better way to do what you're doing. Their first instinct most of the time is to be like, well, I've gotten this far, I think I'm okay. But with communication, you just have to back it up with some of the academic research that backs up some of the conclusions you're advising them to do. And also there's an eye test. That when they get up in front of a group and they're doing public speaking, they can see the power of some of the stuff I know when I teach versus not doing it.
It's funny, a few of my friends from BC are C-level guys like Stryker and Medtronic. They don't like the speaking part. They don't like it. They love running people and all that, but they're always like, I get so nervous before I get up in front.
Well, that's how I make a living. Thank God there are people like that.
No, exactly. Exactly. So how do you, in that regard, right? Because I do some speaking as well. And for me, it's always the start. You got to have a good start. And you got to find a way to wrap it at the end, right? I'm talking a speech, right?
Put a button on it.
Put a button on it, right? So that can be challenging to get someone over the hump into that.
And what complicates it even more is we have the virtual presentations now that happen. So you're spinning a bunch of plates now in those presentations. I know virtually the advice is always within 2 minutes, ask a question of your audience so they're at least intrigued and sharing and
get them going.
That's a good one.
I like it.
You like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's excellent.
All right.
That gets them involved. It gets them, at least feel like they're a part of the conversation. You know that from being a coach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is communication is the most important thing in everything you do. If you can figure out the best way to communicate what you're teaching, what you're talking about in a meeting, whatever, the better chance you have of being successful at it.
Coach, I have a question for you because it's hard enough to lead a football team to win. The other element of being a head coach in the NFL is you really have to be a spokesperson for the team and deal with the media. Did you find that there were coaches that you knew that were really good but really poor publicly and they paid the price because of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
Thanks, Tom.
Let me get a little great question in
Coach,
that.
we'll get you a great question here.
There are guys like that. And one of the things that we did was that the public relations director would come in when we first got there and talk about, hey, here's some of the things that you need to be focusing on and kind of what you're doing in a way within the context of whatever team you were with.
Yeah, here are your talking points.
Exactly. And I think that part of it, there are guys that are good communicators and there are guys that are not.
Yeah.
That's just
I just say this, if you're going to talk it, you better walk it. I don't want any BS.
Right.
Which brings me into
Nice,
your
Tom.
book.
Look at this professional.
That's
You're an author as well.
Yes,
you
that's right.
co-authored the BS Dictionary. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was. The impetus of it is I'm married to a businesswoman as the chief marketing officer.
Okay.
About 7 years ago, she was on a conference call at home. She put it on speaker, and she started using phrases and words I had never heard before in my life. Which is like straw man, blue sky, you know,
right.
SWAT team. You know, it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
What is he saying?
Right. So at that point in my career, I had segued in. I was a comedian. I was a professional comedian. So part of my background is I did a year on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. So that's one of the things I'll put on my tombstone. All that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I took note of it. I was like, oh, this is good comedy material. You know, this is a bunch of bullshit. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, through the process of years, my list got longer and longer of all these BS terms. Yeah. And I said, we should write a dictionary, we should write a book. Yeah. And I partnered with the guy and we got it published. Yeah. And then that led to a TED Talk.
Right.
On this very topic.
Nice.
So
are you still doing the comedy?
Oh, well, with my family. With my family. Let's put it that way.
It's funny you say that, and we got to wrap up, but after my football career was over after an injury, I got a book from a really close friend of mine, and it was titled Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, yeah.
And I read I read like 3 pages, like, all right. I get this, catchy and whatnot. You got to adapt, right? Things happen. You got to regroup. You got to adapt. But anyway, some of those. I don't mean it's BS, but it's a little.
No, I agree with you.
For me.
One of the things.
Just give it to me straight.
No, I like that. The 3 elements of this book. One, we do all the origin stories of some of these phrases. We give you the real definition, and we give you the BS term. We make jokes about it.
Nice. That's
beautiful.
Cool.
Can I get one of those?
Yeah, I want one of them too, man. For sure.
Well, thank you. That's perfect.
Wow, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Coach, good stuff as always.
Coach.
The
good to see you.
Dictionary. I'm sure you get on Amazon. Is that where we're
that's right.
People
and
to?
Coach, that was a great question to say, can I get the book?
There you go.
Exactly.
Great questions all around. Make sure you check out all their great profiles by going to dailynewsnetwork.com. You'll see this conversation and hundreds of others. So until next time, y'all stay safe out there and be cool and no BS as well. All right? And we'll see you next time right here on The Horse's Mouth. Cheers.
The coach should be going to bed at night thinking about the athlete and how they're going to help that athlete improve. They shouldn't be worrying about how am I going to quantify their improvement, or am I going to have to keep up with all this information? Those things that are kind of background to the coach focusing there on the athlete. And so what Dasher does is it takes all those side things away, allowing the coach to focus then on the athlete.